So I'm a fourth generation Coloradan. I grew up here in Colorado, went to Mullen High School, got a construction management degree. I'm also a carpenter by trade. And I started a construction company. We build heavy civil work, roads and bridges. I've literally poured millions of yards of concrete here in this great state. We employ about 300 families here in Colorado and have for several years. We call it CEI Constructors. Been in business since 1983. Well, I'm a really good listener and I'm a really good team builder. I've found in my business role for years that the only time you get anything done is to listen to people, bring consensus, and work on building a team so that you can finish a project. So that's how I'll approach my role at the US Senate. I'll be a good listener. I'm very conservative fiscally, and I'll have that role as I look at things that affect Colorado and bills that come across my desk. And I'm really worried about working Americans. And those are small businesses. Those are middle class, single parents, retirees. We haven't had a voice in the US Senate for years. And I plan on being that voice. And I'll use that lens to look at the legislation that crosses my desk to make sure that whatever we do in the Senate has a positive effect on working Americans. Less government, less help from the federal. It's promoting our police. It's making sure we fight back this rising crime. It's promoting the military so we're safe overseas. But my number one passion is working Americans and what's going on with our gas, $5 a gallon, inflation, 8.5% right now. You're talking about fentanyl coming across our border, crime at an all-time high here in Colorado. Those are all having a very negative effect on working Americans. We've got to do better. And it happens to be that the policies that have been put in place by Biden and Bennett are the ones that are responsible for this inflation that we're seeing each and every day. And it's crushing working Americans here in Colorado. If I had something to run, it would be a bill to reduce the size of bureaucracy, get government out of the way so that we can streamline and become more fiscally responsible than we are today. I think that will have a positive effect on working Americans. Anytime we can lower the spending in the Senate, that'll help to lower the inflation. And that's what's important to working Americans. It is that he likes to talk a lot about streamlining and fixing our immigration system every time that he is in an election cycle. But he hasn't got anything done. He's been there 12 years. And I want to know why Michael Bennet hasn't used the seat. He's one of 99 other senators, hasn't used his seat to fix the immigration system here in the United States. We need to streamline it. We need to make sure it works efficiently. I have a lot of guys that work at CEI that are here legally with a green card and been working for us for years, but they can't get through the process. Why isn't Michael Bennet helped to streamline that process? That's what I'm going to ask him. Well, I'm going to ask Ron Hanks why he doesn't show up for work. He was in the House of Representatives here, and he missed over 48% of the energy committee meetings. He didn't vote. We have gas at an all-time high, and he didn't show up for work. And he makes the argument that it wouldn't have mattered. Well, it matters. When you get hired to represent Colorado, you're supposed to show up for work. He's a flip-flopping politician from California. He's changed his stance on abortion. He's changed his stance on guns. He's changed his stance on unions. We set up a website. It's called therealronhanks.com, therealronhanks.com, so that people can go on and see the real Ron Hanks, what he's done. It's all documented. Nothing's fabricated. It's just the facts. And so I'm going to ask him why he doesn't show up for work. I agree. Joe Biden is our president. I've been saying that since the day I got in this race, but he's a horrible president. And it's his Democratic Party and his Democratic initiatives and their policies that are crushing working Americans here in Colorado. $5 gas, inflation at an all-time high, 35% on our groceries. We've got crime at an all-time high here in Colorado. They are tearing apart our country with these policies that Joe Biden has put in place. No, I don't believe that. I've been very vocal about where my thoughts are about abortion. I don't believe that these late-term bills that Colorado and Chuck Schumer has passed I believe they're reckless. Those bills are reckless. Up to and including the day of birth is unconscionable. But I don't believe in a total ban. That early on in the pregnancy, I believe that should be between a mother and her doctor. And so that's where I've stood. I've been a very big advocate because it's so personal to me about adoption. I was adopted just after birth. And I just think back and think how brave my biological mother must have been to carry me to term and then allow another family, great family, to raise me. And I've got a great life. I've led the American dream. We need to do more to make adoption accessible for young ladies. And it could be a tax cut for them, something to make that the norm. That's how you eliminate abortion. I agree with that. We pass laws every time we have a shooting, and they're not doing any good. You cannot legislate against evil. We've got to do more for mental health. We've got to do more for these kids that have been locked out of their schools for 18 months during COVID. They need help. We need to do more to finance and get resources around mental health here in the United States. We also need a better alarm system when these kids that come off the rails and do these tragic events, which I just can't even imagine how this Uvalde event was just tragic. And as a parent, my heart goes out to that community. But we've had kids that have gotten online, they've said different things, they've talked to their friends. We need to shore up that alarm system so that when something like that happens, it gets to authorities that can actually get with these kids and make sure that these terrifying, terrible things don't happen. We also need to bolster the resources for cops. We need more cops in our schools. We need more cops on the street. We need more cops in public places. I believe that that's part of the solution that we can put in place right now to help to reduce gun violence. The other thing that I want to make sure we talk about is these woke DAs here in Colorado that aren't holding criminals accountable. That's part of why when you defund, demoralize our police force, and then you don't hold the criminals that they go and arrest, they've got no incentive to do their job. And we've got to do a better job of making these people accountable. We can't have them back on the street the next day. We need to promote an immigration system that works. It starts with closing the border. There's a lot of reasons to close the border. First, we got illegal immigration coming across. We've got to stop that right now. We've got fentanyl drugs coming across at an all-time high. We've got human trafficking. And one of the concerns that I'm hearing from a lot of my employees is that we have cartels now in the neighborhoods up in Westminster. We've got them in Brighton. We've got them all across this state because we haven't shut down that border. And in the meantime, we also need to streamline our immigration system. Those people that are here illegally right now, they need to get in line. We need to streamline a system so that we can get people the right documentation so they can become good working part of our society.